You see a Zoom call or two, when they can share the screen and use the mouse to point, it's as good as someone looking over your shoulder.
They control the screen and everything, so they can.
And you can also share your screen and point to something you want to ask about.
Yeah, you can ask questions.
Well, and I think Councilwoman Long, you can also, when you do these Zooms, we can print out those documents for you, because I know you like to have your documents. For the Zoom meetings, we can print out the documents so it's a little bit bigger so you can see what they're talking about.
And I'm in Melanie's boat on that one.
Do what?
I'm in your boat on that one. Our
Yeah.
generation likes things on paper.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and all great questions. And for me, both of them are very qualified. I think what Ann and I were talking about this later. I think it was relatively apparent after the presentations. You know, that it's TPUDC that's their business, right? That's their bread and butter. GMC does a lot of different things, and I really like them. I mean, I like them for all kinds of things. But you know, the only thing, I'm not going to say I disagree with you on. The only thing that is I think by doing Monroe and working with them for so long, they do know this area, and they can work with us, and they've done a bunch of them. So I think we'll be good. I have to do the Zoom Teams calls every day, and I do the same thing. I print out my plans, and I sit there and I mark them up, and I talk to people online and do it both ways. And I think that's just where we are at this age. So I'll support the staff's recommendation, and I think either way this council is going to come out. It's going to be a lot better for us.
Okay, any other discussion? Melanie, you good? Okay. All right, Mayor, that's all we have. I'll be prepared by Thursday night with the motion.
Okay, so we'll vote on that Thursday night. Give everybody a little bit more time to think about it.
And then we'll be off to the races.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Moving down to Finance Human Resource Committee. Ann Hunsinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one item that was added late. We just got the annual health insurance renewal. The city's moving to a POS, but it is not in your packet. That's point of service, not a different abbreviation. Danny, do you have any details you can add? Because I asked Christy about an increase.
Yeah, the reason there's no amount to give you because there's two plans that employees can pick, and without knowing what they would pick, it's hard to give you a price. But I can tell you that we was first hit with the current plan with about a 15% increase in health insurance several months ago. So I asked Christy and Ansley to reach out to GMA to look at possibly shopping this health care and potentially looking at self-insured, which we learned a lot in that process. We learned, for one, that we cannot do self-insured. We're too small of a city as far as the amount of money it would take. And then also they submitted this plan. It's unique to GMA only. It's through Anthem. No one else can get it. And with this new plan, it reduces it about 10% of the original increase. So it's going to be about a 5% increase on top of what we have now. But that's the plan that we decided to go with. It's a POS, point of service. The only two differences in the plans is one's a $500 deductible that employee can choose, and the other one's a $1,500. Is that correct? $1,500 deductible. So that's what we're moving towards, just to trying to save money. So this is a budgeted item, which
I should have put you on the spot. I know that we don't have the actual increase, but this is sort of a housekeeping issue, so if no one has any objections, would you be okay putting it on consent?
Mhm.
Everybody okay with that? Brandon, you good with that? Yeah? Okay. And then, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
thank you.
Thing we're going to talk about tonight, I've got Chief Lowry here. He's got a couple of things the police department needs. He's in need of some more flock cameras to fill in some of the gaps, and a couple of police cars, but I'll let you go ahead, Chief, and tell us what we're looking at.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have two items for you tonight on the agenda. The first, as Ms. Long said, is to add 10 additional cameras to our flock safety system, camera system, or network. The cost for these cameras, the same as what we paid when we initially installed the first 10. It's a $30,000 annual fee, or $3,000 per camera. There is a one-time implementation fee of $6,500, which includes them doing all of the legwork that it takes to get the locations approved through Georgia DOT or county or cities or however that ends up going, and also the installation of the cameras and maintenance as well. It will bring our, it will bring our annual cost for all of the cameras would be $60,000. We're going to pay for this through our federal forfeiture fund. We have more than sufficient funds there available to cover this, plus more, and we intend to continue paying for this through our federal forfeiture fund going forward. So the total cost of the 10, it is a 2-year agreement, which is a standard flock agreement for $66,500. The first payment in this current budget year would be $36,500, and then $30,000 next year and all subsequent years that we keep the cameras. So we would ask approval by the council for us to implement these agreement and move forward getting 10 additional cameras.
Chief, do
Yes, sir.
these cameras help you apprehend the young lady that painted the sign at Tower Depot?
If we didn't have them, we would not have apprehended her. Yes, sir. In addition to a number of other things, we, if you remember a little while back, we had first an attempted robbery and then a full bank robbery up at Legacy Bank. After the first one, Sergeant Kitchens is sitting in the back. He's our, it's not really an official title, but he's our flock coordinator. He knows more about it than the rest of us and kind of manages it and does a great job with that. But Sergeant Kitchens looked at it, was able to identify a vehicle, but we couldn't see a tag number that was concealed, but it gave us a description. So when the second actual robbery occurred, as we're all running lights and sirens up there, he immediately gave out, this is the vehicle we're going to be looking for that came from the flock cameras. And one of our officers just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and almost instantly after Sergeant Kitchen stopped talking on the radio, Officer Donahue said, I got him right here, and ended up in a chase with him. And we caught him, recovered the gun, the note, the money, and him. So without flock, I don't know that would have happened. So in my mind, I'm almost 32 years into this profession. I really wish we'd had flock cameras when I was doing investigations. I would have cleared a lot more cases. Very useful tool.
And where'd you find the money?
Federal force. We're going to let the drug dealers pay for it.
Drug dealers, okay.
Does anybody have any questions? If not, can we put that on consent?
Somebody okay with that?
Yep.
And then I believe we have some needs for some police cars.
Yes, ma'am. The second item that we have for you on the agenda is request to purchase 2 replacement patrol vehicles and the associated equipment, emergency equipment that goes with them. The 2 vehicles that these will be replacing are the 2 oldest ones we still have active in the fleet. Both of those are 2016 Dodge Chargers, are 9 years old. And I've told y'all in the past, patrol cars age in dog years. Both of these vehicles are in excess of 100,000 miles, and quite honestly, based on the mileage and the current condition of these vehicles, it's unlikely that we're going to retain them as spares. We're probably going to surplus them at the next city auction. The 2 vehicles that we're looking to purchase, as we have been in the past, is the Police Interceptor Utility. It's still an Explorer to me, but that's the official Ford nomenclature for it. And this request also covers all the emergency equipment, light, siren, the cages that go in them, all of those things. This also includes the lettering and window tinting for the vehicle, all of it together. And we're asking also, excuse me, sorry. to include a 5% contingency, although I don't anticipate we would need it, but we would like to include that just in case. Brings the total cost of the vehicles and equipment to $128,552, or not to exceed that amount. And this will be funded, the total purchase will be funded by the 2019 Walton County SPOS funds.
Chief, I just had a
Yes, ma'am.
couple of questions.
Sure.
I was at, I don't remember which meeting I was at, but Sheriff Brooks spoke.
Yes.
And they're starting to put some vehicles on a lease program. Is that anything that maybe the city wants to look at, or?
We have looked at that in the past, and quite honestly, Ms. Long, the biggest difference is this. When we're doing vehicles, generally, we do 2. I think the most we've done since I've been here is probably 4 at a time, Danny. The sheriff's office just ordered 30.
Okay.
That's a lot of it.
Okay.
In order to get the best return and cost return on the lease, you have to buy in greater volume. We have explored it as far back as probably 2008 and several times since then, and quite honestly, it just, the numbers don't come out.
It was just a
in our
question.
favor.
I
Yeah.
mean, because we're using drug money, but yet
Yeah.
the more.
No, we've looked at it
you
a
know.
number of times through, there's even programs through, I don't know if GMA does it, but I know ACCG does, where they finance, they can finance it through ACCG on these leases. So there are some advantages to it if you can buy in more
Right.
volume than what we need to do.
And then my only other question, I know in past, we've had a hard time getting the vehicles in. How long do you expect it to take?
They're telling us 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, wow,
So
okay.
that's
So
what they're telling us.
they're
Now,
getting a little quicker.
That generally means it'd probably be 12 to 14 weeks. Now, one thing that we are able to do this go around, we have seen some increase in the cost of both the vehicles and equipment, but we are going to be able to save some money and transfer the Axon camera systems and things like that. We won't have to purchase. We're going to take them out of these older vehicles, and that's those camera systems are quite honestly top of the line, and they're quite expensive. So we're not going to have to buy those two. So we're going to transfer. The shop is going to transfer those over.
And then remind me, this wasn't the drug money, or this is the
No,
drug money?
this one, the flock is drug
Drug.
money, and the vehicles will be a SPOS.
Splosh, that's
Yes,
right,
yes,
okay.
ma'am.
All right, does anybody have any questions? Y'all okay with consent for that? Okay.
That's
All
all I
right.
have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, and moving along, we have two other issues to square up, and I'm just going to read these in. The first one, we have a yes? I am going to go one at a time. I can't read but one page at a time, so.
We can talk about
We
it
will.
between them.
Yep. A resolution of the City Council of Loganville censuring council member Ann Huntsinger. Whereas the members of City Council of Loganville are duly elected officials entrusted by the public to faithfully execute their duties in accordance to the Constitution, the laws of the state of Georgia, the city charter, and the council's policy on procedures and protocols. And whereas City Council is to self-govern its behavior based on the adoption of City Council policy on procedures and protocols, which was brought forth by Council Member Huntsinger in June of 2024. And whereas the policy on procedures and protocols instructs council members to treat each other, the public and staff with respect at all times, it further dictates that council members should show respect for differing opinions and deal with issue, not personalities. And whereas on September 18th, 2025, during a called council meeting, Ms. Huntsinger became visibly enraged and verbally assaulted council member Melanie Long. While Ms. Huntsinger, while yelling "stop" and "hush," repeatedly thrust her hand towards Ms. Long in an aggressive manner, and whereas Ms. Long remained calm, collected, as well as spoke deliberately and serenely when allowed to do so. Amidst her tirade, Ms. Huntsinger made an accusation against Ms. Long and then refused to allow Ms. Long the opportunity to address the allegation. And whereas Ms. Huntsinger's rage-filled display, Ms. Long informed her that she did not need to yell as Ms. Long herself had not raised her voice. Ms. Huntsinger's continued behavior led to public outbursts, and while being the cause of the melee, Ms. Huntsinger repeatedly demanded Mayor Beliles bring the meeting to order. At that time, Mayor Beliles made a call for a motion on the issue at hand, a vote was taken, and the meeting ended. Now therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Loganville that 1, the City Council hereby formally censure Council Member Ann Huntsinger for aggressive and inappropriate behavior on the dais. The resolution of censure constitutes that Council's official expression of disapproval of Council Member Huntsinger's behavior and conduct. The Council reaffirms its commitment to maintaining the dignity and professionalism of Council meetings and treatment of fellow Council members. Councilmember Huntsinger is strongly admonished to refrain from further outbursts and is urged to conduct herself in a manner that reflects professionalism and preserves public confidence in the City Council of Loganville. Well, you wanted to discuss, I'm turning to
fine.
you, because if you don't, then I would just make the motion that we put this
Is
on
there
the
any
consent
questions, any
agenda.
discussion?
Mr. Mayor, may I ask that we take them together? Could she go ahead and read the second one?
Okay.
Because they are related, if you don't mind, Melanie.
Okay.
That's fine, whatever.
A resolution of the City Council of Loganville censuring Councilmember Ann Huntsinger. Whereas members of the City Council of Loganville are duly elected officials entrusted by the public to faithfully execute their duties in accordance to the Constitution, the laws of the state of Georgia, the city charter, and the council's policy on procedures and protocols. And whereas executive sessions and attorney-client privilege are authorized by law for limited purposes, including but not limited to the discussion of legal, personnel, and other sensitive matters, and the confidentiality of such sessions and work products is crucial to protect the interests of the city and its residents. And whereas all members of the City Council are bound by their oath of office and applicable law to maintain the confidentiality of executive session discussions and confidential materials and work products. Whereas in 2021, Councilmember Huntsinger published on her social media and campaign website, LoganvilleStrong.com, confidential information that was confidential work product, as well as shared an executive session of council, which she was seated. And whereas the information Ms. Huntsinger freely published had been requested via the open records request process multiple times by multiple citizens, each request was denied by the city's official record keeper, City Manager Danny Roberts. Mr. Roberts consulted with legal counsel and based his refusal of production of requested documents as being protected under OCGA Section 50-18-72A, 41 and 42. We have attached an exhibit. I don't know if I need to read that or not, but anyway, whereas the City Council of Loganville has a duty to hold its members accountable for violations of trust and to preserve the integrity of its processes on behalf of the residents it serves, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Loganville that 1, the City Council hereby formally censures Councilmember Ann Huntsinger for publishing confidential materials and work products as well as executive session privilege. This resolution of censure constitutes the council's official expression of disapproval of Councilmember Huntsinger's conduct and condemnation of the violation of confidentiality and trust inherent therein. The council reaffirms its commitment to maintaining the confidentiality of attorney-client privilege as well as executive sessions, assuring that information is shared with the public only through lawful and appropriate channels and upholding the standards of ethical conduct required of elected officials. 4, Councilmember Huntsinger is strongly admonished to refrain from further breaches of confidentiality and is urged to conduct herself in a manner that preserves public confidence in the City Council of Loganville.
Okay? Any questions, anyone?
Mr. Mayor, may I speak?
Yes.
I would like to take the second accusation first about confidential information.
Ann, is your mic on?
It is. I'm
Okay.
sorry, can you hear me?
Okay, just get
Am I
closer.
okay back there?
Okay,
All
that's
right.
better.
The confidential information that I'm accused of publishing in 2021 is separate of the whereas that says that there was open records requests that were denied. The open records request email that you put was from April, May, June, July, 16 months prior. And the Exhibit A that you have here is actually an email from Danny, not from me. And as clerk of the records, the fact that they were not produced shouldn't be a part of this because it has nothing to do with me. But more importantly, the information that I published came direct from Ladson Haddow. It is something that I have tried to explain repeatedly, Melanie, to you directly, to members of the public, especially to the concerned citizens, where 10 to 15 people are determined that I'm a crook. If anyone had even bothered to ask me where that information came from, I could have easily produced an email. In that email, I asked Ladson Haddow 18 months after they did work for us. You may recall that his initial report had the word draft all over it. I sent him an email in July of 2021 that said, hey, I need something for my campaign page. Do you happen to have a document that doesn't have the word draft in it? He said, sure, would this work? I think that's what he said exactly, but he sent me a PDF. I published it. It didn't have the word draft. Yay. It's important to note, and I have confirmed this with Mr. Rosenthal, that when a document comes back in from outside, that document is now open record, just as we all know that any email that we send that is not from an attorney or that has attorney-client privilege is public record. So I would like to present for you, Mike is in my email. Mike is in my email. I didn't forward the document. I didn't forward the email. But if you could please, just as I stated, July 15th, 2021, hi Ladson, the report you did for us in early 2020 was excellent, and I need an electronic copy. Unfortunately, all of our copies have the word draft on them. Do you have one that is clean you would send me? Thanks, Ann. He responds, if you'll scroll up just a little bit, please, Mike. He responded on July 20th, 2021 at 7:37. And see attached, and please let me know if this is what you are looking for. Would you please open the attachment, Mike? I don't know if it'll open. It should. You may have to you may have to download it and open it. So if you'll scroll down, I don't know if the pages that I am being attacked for, but if you will scroll down, I think where it says Memorandum of Understanding, you will note that this entire presentation is formatted because the Haddow group formatted it. I believe that at some point Connolly and Haddow talked because they had worked together before. Continue down. It says Memorandum of Understanding on the top. Stop right there. So you'll see that here's where I erred. When I asked this from Ladson Haddow, I didn't know that there were additional pages that were not in the draft document. However, when this document came in from an outside source, not an attorney with no attorney-client privilege, if you'll continue to scroll down a little bit, you'll see that that Haddow put the source on their document. So the source here was the City of Loganville. Please continue scrolling. Summary of proposed pilot program, continue to scroll. Source Connolly. As soon as this document came back into my email and I published it, it was not under attorney-client privilege. It was not part of executive session. It was not part of anything that I was not allowed to release. Therefore, I do not think that this censure is appropriate. Continuing on to the first censure. Thank you, Mike. I think that's, unless anybody has any questions about that.
I do, Ann, if you don't
I
mind.
don't mind at all.
You mentioned it was a result of executive session the first time, I mean.
Microphone,
initial.
Patty.
Oh, it is on. I'm sorry, you just can't hear me. I think we can all admit it was executive session material originally, correct?
I don't know how you or Melanie would know what was executive session, and I can't reveal what was an executive session, but I can tell you that once a deal is dead, the point of executive session is not to keep secrets generally. I mean, overall, not even talking about this situation. We make discussions in like real estate matters. If we take an action, we have to come out here and state it. If we don't take an action, then we don't have to talk about it until we take an action. It eliminates the need for the city to get into negotiation problems because everybody knows our business. You know, we want to buy the house down the street for 300 grand. Well, then the owner's going to up it to 350, whatever. But whether or not any of that information was in executive session or as part of a discussion with an attorney, as soon as it came back in from outside, which I didn't ever give to them, it was public record.
He said the source, and I can't scroll back and see what document that was. One of the sources was the City of Loganville. Do you remember which document that was?
It said memorandum of understanding on the top. It's not my
An
document.
MOU? No, I'm just trying to gather some facts.
It was
I'm
the
not-
memorandum of
I'm
understanding
not
summary was the source of Loganville. And I'm more, less about the executive session, is that our record keeper refused me or anyone else to read any of these documents.
But that was 18 months prior.
They still were protected.
But, okay,
So, I mean, I don't want to argue with you. That's just where I'm coming from. They were still protected. Up until whenever, I still could not get them. Now that I'm on city council, I could walk over there and get them. They've still been protected because they were an attorney-client work product. And I'm less about the executive session than I am the attorney-client work product. Because I came up here when you first put it on your website and spoke here at the city. And honestly, I'm not looking to throw anybody under the bus, but there was nothing going to be done about, you weren't supposed to do that, but you did. So I'm not going to get into a he said, she said, and I don't want to. I just think that if there's going to be full accountability for any type of appearance of misdoing, that if we're going to have a fair playing field, like I said, systemically, there has just been an uneven disciplinary and process throughout my 4 years on council. And again, like I said the other day in an email to y'all, you know, when you have a belly full, you've had a belly full. And just what we're going to do to one, even though that one's recent and this one's old, I mean, it would go far if you would just sit here and admit that possibly you made a mistake in publishing something you should not have published, instead of trying to excuse it away. Own it, you did it. You told Patty that a censure is an informal slap on the wrist or whatever the terminology was. So just be the example. Just, you made a mistake, you published something maybe you shouldn't have. and let's just move forward. You still got 3 more months. We still have to work together. Let's just move forward.
Melanie, you don't have anything, I didn't do anything wrong. I published a document that came from the public. I mean, do I wish I hadn't? Yeah, because I wouldn't be sitting here. But I mean, what bothers me, and which will go to my second point about the other censure, is I have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that I published something that came from the public that was public record. And you are asking me to admit that I did something wrong and not listening to any of it. So Paul, I will go to you. Will you please confirm that when information comes in from the public in the example I just stated, that it is public record and okay to publish? If that's something you can confirm.
So, you know, I don't want to pass the buck. I want to answer your question.
Okay.
I wasn't here
And I
in
know
the
you
middle
weren't here,
of
of course.
all of this, so I can't speak to every element of it. What I can say is that emails back and forth, documents held by the city or anybody on behalf of the city are generally subject to open disclosure under the Georgia Open Records Act, unless they are subject to some exemption, okay? I have not looked at every single document that's being dealt with from 2021, but generally, to answer your question, is if a document is not channeled through, and the little bit that I've seen says that it's referencing attorney work product or attorney-client privilege, if that document doesn't sort of stay within that channel in the criminal world, it's sort of the fruit of the poisonous tree kind of concept. Is if you don't keep things in their lane and they get out of their lane, then privileges can be waived or it's no longer subject to that privilege. Again, I'm not familiar with all that went on with the Connolly situation, but I will say this issue of the timing may also be at play, although I can't speak to it. If the document was requested during the process of potentially negotiating a deal with this purchase, then it is possible that that document could have been protected by the privilege and attorney work product because it was part of a potential real estate acquisition. But then later, that document would lose that privilege if it's no longer a project or a purchase that's being pursued. But to generally answer your question, if a non-attorney has a document that may have had a privilege, and then that document ends up within the four corners of the public domain, meaning it's on a server of the city of Loganville, then that document generally is going to be open to public disclosure and not subject to the attorney-client privilege exemption or the attorney work product. The best example that I can give, if this helps, is if Danny is my client and we're having a conversation, and that conversation is privileged as an attorney-client privilege. But if his friend is standing there too, then it's not a privileged conversation because there's a non-privileged member participating in that conversation. So that's the best example I can come up with. It is if a third party has a document or produces something, then that privilege can be waived. So it is quite possible that that document was in the hands of non-attorney where there wasn't a privilege, and then it got sent back to the city through non-privileged channels, and then that document would have been subject to disclosure through the Open Records Act.
Okay.
Again, I
Thank you,
have
Paul.
not
I understand.
researched it in full detail on everything that happened in the facts of this case, but it is possible.
Thank you.
So, and just to say this, so I was elected and was sworn in the end of January of 2020, and I don't remember if it was February of 2020 or March when the four of us stood up and stopped the Connolly pursuit. At least the guidance was to stop the city manager and all doing any type of development. Very hard day. Certainly, we've come a long way since then. But at that point, it was stopped. It was probably, there were still things that went on after that, but Danny was stopped. This happened And I'm clear in my mind, this happened, I mean, we've seen the email, this happened a year and a half later. I understand the situation. What I hear from Ann is, you know, probably if I had in retrospect, I wouldn't have put that part in there, but in probably 99 people out of 100 would have gotten that document that was a published document and would have just posted the whole thing, because you know what, you don't want to post something that's got pages 7, 8, 11, 10, 11, 12, right? Anyway, and that also, as Ann says, precludes what this first argument was about, and I'll say, I feel in my heart that, I mean, honestly, I think this is probably one of the calmest, some of the calmest talks we've had in a long time. I don't think I know how I feel on this, but I really feel like I want to work forward, and hopefully we'll continue to move the city forward.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask for a vote on this censure, this first one? Could we vote on this tonight so it's not over my head all week?
Okay, is everybody okay if we take a vote?
Do I need to, I'll make a motion?
You will.
I'll make a motion that we censure Councilmember Ann Huntsinger for the behavior exhibited on September the 18th.
Sorry, I haven't addressed that one yet. I was just
Oh,
asking.
well, you said the first one. That was the first one.
I'm sorry, the second one is what
Oh,
I meant.
okay.
I apologize.
Okay, is this doing one of them?
So that we're doing the one about the open records, the thing.
Okay,
Okay,
so this is the one concerning the open records from 2021.
okay.
Okay?
Then I make the motion that we discard the second censure, the one about the privileged information.
So you get rid of it?
Yeah, we'll throw that one out.
Be your choice.
That's fine.
I'll
I'll throw it
second
out.
that.
I will exhibit some goodwill.
Okay? So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. What did it just get agreed to?
That we won't censure her for that. I'm going to
Okay,
show some
okay.
goodwill.
Okay. And you want to do
Because if
that?
we're going to heal, then let's do that. But the first one that she wants to address, we need to discuss that.
Okay. You ready to discuss that, Ann?
Yeah, but I will say this. Goodwill is a police officer giving you a warning when you were obviously speeding. I just proved that I didn't do anything wrong. So I still take exception that you're giving me a gimme when I just had evidence that proved. But
Duly noted.
as for the hush, I would like to just state for the record that I ask you to stop and to hush, and I put my hand up in a universal stop because for 7 years you've been after me. And even now, in the face of irrefutable proof, you still are after me. And it's becoming defamatory and slanderous because you still believe what you believe, and that's somehow that I'm a crook. Honestly, if telling somebody to hush is a verbal assault, then I guess I've verbally assaulted my children. I imagine most teachers have assaulted their students. And I just, you know, I was really taken last council meeting with the fact that a censure for another council member turned into a character assassination for me. And I was particularly taken that one of the things that you said was, that you had made a note of all of our shortcomings. And I wish I had actually been with it enough to say, and it only took one piece of paper, because I was like, wow. But who makes a list of other people's shortcomings and admits it? You know, one of my shortcomings is when I don't feel heard and I am accused, I get upset. And when I'm trying to defend myself, I tell people to hush. I looked up what a verbal assault was, and a verbal assault, also known as verbal abuse, is a form of psychological abuse that uses written, gestured, or oral language to intimidate, manipulate, and control someone. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm guilty of verbal assault. And
Well, we
Fellas,
have the video, and we
again,
got it queued up, and we can
there's
play
another
it.
great
Could we watch?
example of interruption. If the council thinks that I am guilty of verbal assault, then I will take my punishment. Other than that, I don't think that I'm guilty of that. That's all I have to say. And I would also like for a vote on this one as well.
Do you want us to vote on this one tonight?
I would appreciate that, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a quick comment,
Okay.
not so much in just defense, but when we're up here talking, there is at times, even earlier tonight when I was talking, and you kind of overtalk people sometimes when we're trying to explain stuff. And like tonight, you know, I politely say, hey, let me finish real quick.
And I did.
And I get that. The other meeting was a lot more heated, not so much just from Ann, but from everything, all the situations that led up to that. And she is further down the dais, and, you know, I can be real polite to you, right? Like, hey, let me finish real quick. When you start to overtalk people while they're trying to finish their thoughts or finish what they're trying to say, I do believe sometimes it would be appropriate to say, you know, like I did, like, you know, let me finish, or even if it's just a hush, let me finish. I don't think that was verbal abuse in my mind, but I know we have video, and it sounds like y'all want to watch it, so maybe we could.
I mean, if we need to.
I would like to see it just to refresh my memory, if that's possible.
It's at the 1 hour and 5 minute mark. And it's about a 10 or 15 minute video.
Actually, the 1 hour and 5 mark, we're just talking. The hush is at an hour and 22 minutes.
I'd like to hear more feedback. We'll continue our discussions, not tonight, over the next few weeks, and then be prepared at the October council
Say
meeting.
an hour and 20 minutes, Sam?
Feedback.
It's at an hour and 22 minutes is where
Hour and
the,
22 minutes?
unless we want to just give up 15 more minutes of our day.
I would say we move it to,
Okay, thank you. Sir? The motion and the vote will be on the Thursday night, unless there's some reason we need to have it.
Related to that list of conduct, there is a particular protocol that involves investigation, the calling of a committee, the sitting of the ethics board, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are specific types of prescribed conduct that relates to, like I said, self-healing. This policy protocol that you passed was more for how this council interacts amongst itself and how it interacts with staff and how it treats confidential information. That is different confidential information than what's listed in the ethics ordinance. The ethics ordinance addresses the use of confidential information for the purpose of personal gain. That's one way of addressing confidential. This policy protocol addresses just making sure that we're not disclosing confidential information that we shouldn't be. So first, this is an appropriate exercise of your self-governance of your corporate body because you did pass this policy last year. And second, the bringing of a signature for an alleged violation is also an appropriate action under the policy, as it's clearly stated in the policy that you adopted, which does have the force and effect of self-governance to the city council.
So to summarize, is it fair to say that the policies that we voted are self-governance? That we decided as a group that this is how we were going to behave, And if we didn't behave in that way, that these were the steps we were going to take as our own group to police ourselves.
That is correct, and that authority comes directly from your charter. Your charter envisions that you will govern yourself, that you will create policies and rules on how to self-govern this corporate body. One of the other, a great example, one of the other elements in this policy is we specifically stated, because y'all don't have it in your ordinance, that you would follow the 12th edition of Robert's Rules of Order. We also identified the reality that we will only use Robert's Rules of Order if we have a parliamentary disagreement on addressing motions and the like. So this is an appropriate adoption of policies for the self-governance of this board, in my legal opinion.
Thank you. The other thing I would like to say, just in general about executive session, for all of us as elected officials, and for those of you who are in the audience who are running, who may become city council or mayor, when you sit in a room with people and you have an executive session, for me, the most important thing in sitting there is knowing that I can say how I feel or I say what I think, and it's not going to be published to the public. We have a vow, we take an oath to not share that information. So that breach of trust for me is what is the most important.
And again, you could sit here and say you didn't, but you violated it twice.
Okay, Melanie,
And
stop.
you have looked yourself up.
Will you please state what you think I violated?
You published the MOU between Connolly and the city.
Stop. I published the Haddow report on my campaign site, which had Connolly's wish list portion of the MOU.
Did that occur in executive session?
No, I did not publish what happened in executive session. I published the Haddow report, and as soon as Haddow had it, it was public record. The city attorney was aware of it.
Every time I
No,
I was denied that.
Melanie, if you are going to make an accusation in public with me, then I have the right to tell you what happened. As soon as Haddow published that, it was public record. Haddow did not publish the signed back and forth of the Connolly report. If that had been published, if I had published the back and forth, that would have been not executive session, but attorney-client privilege. That is not what I published on my campaign site. It was the Haddow report that was public record. What's your next thing?
You removed yourself from social media because you violated executive session when you spoke about
The wage and salary?
Yes.
No. What I said was, I did remove myself from social media because what I said was, and if you go back to the YouTube, is what Paul said earlier, we can go into executive session. I think the hushes have occurred. Specific people in executive session. When we came out of executive session, what we said was, out of executive session, we have. I would hold that I was actually incredibly polite because I said, will you please state? And I ask you to stop. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I didn't use profanity. I used no expletives. I didn't call you names. I asked for the opportunity to defend myself. I told you in that meeting what happened. You didn't believe me per the usual, and I proved it tonight. When is it okay for me to defend myself against 7 years of attacks? As you roll your eyes. I'd call for a vote, please.
Are you saying, Ann, just to clarify in my mind, that Melanie's attacks were a one-way street?
I am saying that I would challenge you to find a single place in public on a Facebook page where I have called anybody a liar or a cheat or in bed with the developer.
That wasn't my question. My
please
question
clarify.
was, are you saying that Melanie's actions are or were or will be a one-way street, that you have been completely innocent in all of her attacks and you have never attacked her? That's my question.
I have not attacked Melanie.
Okay.
I have been kind to both of you.
Okay.
I have helped you.
I tell you what, Ann, now I'm about to get upset. I will bring in Well, we've got videos, we can show some of your actions on tape. Then I will bring in every single email that you have written me in the last 2 years I've been sitting up here. And then we'll let the citizens decide who's been harassed and who hasn't. How's that?
All the emails are open record. You posted that I sent you.
They don't
along
need to
with-
be open record. I'll bring them in and show y'all. We'll just have us a little session, and we'll go through those emails, because I'm not going to sit up here and listen to this garbage about it's Melanie that's been doing all of it. Melanie hadn't, I have worked with a lot of people in my 36 years of professional experience working with the public. Never, and I worked with like gangsters and the Gambino family, if you've ever heard of them. I mean, I worked with some characters. Never in my career have I ever worked with anybody like this. I mean, from the time I sat up here, actually a little before, she has done nothing but try to diminish and destroy me, and I can prove it. If you want the proof, y'all let me know. We'll meet in here and we'll just pass those emails around, because I've got nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing.
Well, Patty, here was her response when she realized that she was going to be censured tonight. She sent you and I, and she tagged everybody else. Melanie and Patty, if you need someone to write a draft resolution for my attempted censure, which you put on the agenda for next week, I have a good friend who writes well. Just let me
Yes,
know.
I did say that.
Yeah.
I sure did.
Yeah. So,
But I would just like to read an email, and all my emails are open. I'd hand you my phone now. I sit here praying for your hard heart, that you would spend your time trying to destroy another person for no reason except pure evil. Do you not realize it is you being destroyed? Read the comments on FB, Facebook, about you. That should surely open up your eyes to the mirror you should be looking in. I know so much about you and your husband's life that could and probably would destroy you, but I decided harming you was not on my to-do list. That is an email I received from Ms. Wolf on 9/24/2025.
I'd say the same thing today. I do pray for her heart, because she has spent, I don't know how many hours she spent trying to find stuff out about me and posting on Facebook and making, not Facebook, on emails to all of us, making insinuations and doing all this. I would post that, I claim that email, I live by that email, I'm proud of that email.
well, I'm going to make a motion so we can move on. We got
That's
a
a
lot
good
more to
thing.
go. I'm going to make the motion that we censure Ann Huntsinger for her behavior, September 18th meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
So 2 in favor. All those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Okay, so is that 3-2? Is that what you're saying? 4-2?
That's 4-2.
4-2? Okay, the censure is voted down.
Okay.
I got to be honest with you. Normally, I would have not allowed this to be on the agenda tonight for only one reason. It was only brought by one council member. I like to have a consensus of council members before we do something like that. And we did not have it, so it got voted down tonight as a consequence of that. To me,
Is
you
that
can
in
get on.
writing somewhere?
Now, wait a minute, Patty, I'm talking now.
No,
You're not talking.
I want you to tell me where that is in
I
writing.
don't know why you have to address everything like you're attacking everybody, Patty. If you
Because-
don't like being on this council, why don't you get off?
Oh, you'd love that.
Please,
wouldn't you?
yes, ma'am, I would.
You'd love it.
I would.
Oh, Skip, now I'm gonna stay here to make your life
At least I
miserable.
can't tell a lie.
Listen, Skip, you can't tell.
Let's address the lies that you told at the Triad meeting.
I tell you what, it's really interesting sometimes. Melanie, during the car show the other day on Saturday, mentioned to me that I said something wrong at Triad. I said, well, tell me what that was. She said, well, you said that Tacos and Beer had their permits to go on in there and get the things finished. I said, well, that's what I was told. She says, well, that's not true because I checked on you, and I went to the Planning and Zoning Department, and they don't have their permits. She was right. She was right. I said it wrong. I get things wrong sometimes. I asked her at that time, have you ever said anything that turned out to be not correct later? And she looked at me and said yes. And I think she was being honest then too. I mean, it happens. I did go by Planning and Zoning today. All of their plans were approved Friday. They just have not come in to get the permits yet. Robbie, is that a fair assessment?
The plan review has been approved. We have not received the permit packet from the applicant.
Right, okay.
Actually, what
So-
you told me was, you told the truth as you knew it, and I said, well, then let's get to where the misinformation started.
Well,
And you said it was
that's
Christy,
fair.
Daniel, and Brandon that told you that, so.
I'm
And
like-
I said, as the mayor, you don't go to a public meeting and spread misinformation. When you're the mayor, you should have went and verified information. That was what I said.
And I think I said something, maybe you don't have enough to do and you got
No,
more
actually,
time
what
on
you-
your hands.
Well, actually, what you did was call Robbie a liar, but
it's,
that's where we are.
It's unbelievable. I wish we had a place for a detective somewhere. You know, we're here to run the city's business. If somebody wants to get in the dirt in the woods, so be it. Let them have at it. But don't take my time to do it. Okay, it was voted down, so now we can move on to Public Utilities Transportation Committee. Bill Duvall.
Skip, I have, wait, before Bill starts, if you don't mind, since Ann made the statement, if somebody had bothered to ask her where the info came from, nobody ever asked me a question before you censured me.
You weren't here, Patty. You didn't come to the meeting.
You were censuring me that night. I'm talking about before you wrote the thing up. You never came to me.
I
and
didn't
said,
write the
"Hey."
thing up.
Whoever, Skip.
Well, I don't know what you're
I'm
talking
not
about.
playing this word game with you. Anyway, Ann made that statement. She also made the statement, if you're going to make an
The censure has
accusation.
been voted down.
If-
That discussion is over. If somebody wants to
This is
discuss
about
it
my
after hours, that's fine.
This is about my
We're
censure,
We're going to
Skip.
move on now to Public
Skip,
Utilities Transportation, Bill Duvall.
I have the right to defend myself on my censure.
You had your right and you were not here.
I get to choose when I defend myself.
Excuse me?
I get to choose when I defend myself. Yes.
You do?
Yes,
Why is that?
because I said so, and it is my censure.
Because she said so. That's impressive. Anyway,
Are
I'm
you
not
not
going to
gonna let
argue.
me
We'll
do-
talk
what are
about
you
it later.
afraid of, Skip?
Bill Duvall,
What are
moving
you
to Public
afraid of?
Utilities Transportation.
Why won't you let me defend my censure? What are you afraid of, Skip?
Because the censure
are you
information
afraid of?
is now over.
It is not.
And trust me, Patty, I'm not afraid of
Then let me-
you or whatever you say,
let me
except you
defend-
want to keep saying it.
Let
Now,
me
I guess
defend
I've just
myself.
violated it because I've been loud, but you've been loud as well. We're moving to the next
You censure me
topic.
till the cows come home.
Public Utilities
I want to
Transportation, Bill
defend
Duvall.
myself.
We'll just keep caking. Mike,
It's
could you
not-
please cut off that mic on that end of the...
Skip, it's not on the
Please.
agenda.
It's not on the agenda, Ann said. Thank you, Ann, for those words of expertise. So
Okay,
y'all
Bill?
aren't willing
Thank you,
to
Mr.
hear my truth because you're being obstinate? What is wrong with me defending myself right here? It take 3 minutes.
You should have been here on the night. I took my medicine, I faced it in the music, I talked to everybody, I proved my point.
And I didn't have the emails until last week because I had to come in here and get my phone fixed in order to get those emails that I would like to read tonight. That's why. It's not on the agenda. Okay, move on.
Public Utilities Transportation Committee, Bill Duvall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is a resolution to apply for the 2025 Transportation Alternatives Program Fund. So, all right, so there is a call for, this is a grant. What the city is proposing to do is do a grant to do some sidewalks. It is through a program through, if you go to the bipartisan infrastructure bill law, and then it's been subsequently, the bills before that, they have what's called a transportation set-aside, where there's money that's taken from the surface transportation block grant. They take about 10% of that money and they set it aside for alternatives These are alternatives to help, it's transportation, it's to help, bicyclists, pedestrians, ADA, walkability, that type of thing. You can do what we call on-road projects, or you can do off-road. So you can even do trails with them. They're eligible, they're broken down, there's a very structured way to receive these funds. There are federal funds where if you're awarded the grant, you get 80% from the feds and you pay your 20%. So the city's proposed for $1 million grant where, our portion would be the $200,000, correct? So they're for safety, they're for what's called complete streets, where you have the opportunity to provide bike lanes and sidewalks and other type of safety features. So this call for grants was posted September 13th, which is after our last session, last council meeting, doesn't matter. What matters is it closes October 31st. So we brought this resolution to you today so that we can proceed. This is a critical component that goes into the grant application. What you've seen in your packet is we're proposing to do sidewalks down Leeburg Road. What's important to that is, well, one important part is it was part of our 2022 traffic study where we were looking at pedestrian and bike facilities in the city. But more importantly, if you go back to safety, and also under that whole program is the safe routes to schools. Well, that's going to also, it's going to provide sidewalks attaching to, Bay Creek Elementary. So in addition, what the city has proposed is looking at a sidewalk also going down Old Zion Cemetery to the high school. There again ties into the school. So what that does is it still we have to get the grant in. I understand we've got Jeff Smith is going to be working on this. He's got a lot of experience obtaining grants and getting funding. But it has to be turned in to GDOT. They're going to make the decision. They'll select it. It's a competitive thing. So they award, across the country about $1.4 billion. We're hoping that we can, get $1 million. So that's the background of this resolution. And with that, anybody have any questions?
I have quite a few. The $1 million, is that the city's share, or is that the total grant?
That's the total grant. And the grant can go for planning, design,
I thought the grant was
construction.
for $5 million.
Yeah, total share would be, city's portion would be $1 million if we get that much money. This is
So
20% match.
20%.
20% match.
Yes.
So it is
Yeah.
5 or not? It is 5 or thereabouts?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that'll cover, so there's right of way, there's, all that coordination that goes on.
Oh, yeah, let me say this before I start my questions. I am not opposed to sidewalks at all. I think they're great. I just want to make sure this grant is what is best for the city, and I want to make sure we have our questions answered. So that's why I'm asking questions. It has nothing to do with me not wanting sidewalks. I just, need some information. Okay, so we've established that it's most likely going to be $5 million or somewhere thereabouts. I took that training that they offered, part of it. I quit after they got into more of the factual stuff that I didn't understand. But it said this same grant was going to be offered next year.
Will we?
So my question is...
It may be.
He said it would be. And this grant won't be approved until spring. He said approximately April of next year. So my question, before I get into my other questions, is since we're about to have a complete overhaul of or somewhat of an overhaul of the dais, would it not be wise to, and the fact that this grant's going to go on for multiple years, would it make better sense to maybe table this until we get another council on board that's going to be here for a longer period of time and have to deal with this grant? Is there a problem with that? Since it's not going to be approved till April, anyway, by then,
You'll
you know.
miss your submission deadline.
Do what?
You'll miss your submission deadline.
So-
So these are cycled under federal budgets, state budgets, GDOT, FDOT, all of these. I mean, these
You talk
types of
about
grants.
October 31st.
These types of grants are very common, whether it's a TAP grant, you know, y'all are more familiar with CDBG grants, but cities all over the state use TAP grants all the time to fund alternative transportation, mainly to try and alleviate traffic. So just, this council can do whatever it wants to do, but the whole concept of applying for federal and state grants is to leverage your local dollars for bigger projects that you could not do otherwise. So if you choose not to put in this grant application, what you're choosing to do is potentially missing out on a $4 million federal match of funds to be able to do a $5 million project in the city of Loganville with only $1 million of local money. So you can choose to not do that, but that's what your choice would be, is you'd be missing out on, and there's no guarantee that you get it. These are very competitive grants.
I'm not saying we don't do the grant, I'm just saying.
But you'll miss this cycle. So the next
Yeah.
cycle will be, you have to keep putting in for it, putting in, and when you get one, it takes you several years to implement it. And then once you've gotten one, then you have the ability to get the next one. And then once you get the next one, you have the ability to get the next one. But getting the first one, you may have to put in for it several times before you get it. They're competitive. There's no guarantee that you get it. You know, this is how lots of jurisdictions, different types of grants, is how lots of jurisdictions will get parks money, is they'll do parks money through, let's say, Department of Natural Resources will have parks money grants and those sort of things. And it's always a competitive process. And there's always a budget cycle system where you're going to have money available in this budget cycle that may or may not be available in the next budget cycle. So just to answer your question is, you know, why do you or don't you put it in, is you're putting in for this grant application with no guarantee that you're going to get it. But if you don't put it in, there is a 100% chance that you won't have the possibility of getting $4 million of federal money.
So,
Or you said we wouldn't have the possibility even next year.
No, you might have that possibility, but that's a different grant cycle. That,
Right.
And that money may not be there. The money goes up and the money goes down. The pot that's available on all of these grants at state or federal levels can be there and not be there in lots of different ways. So y'all can put in for it as many times as you want to. I mean, there's some protocols on these when you can and when you can't, but a lot of cities put in for these regularly, knowing that they're not going to get every one, and they just keep putting in so that they can get the ones that they can get.
well, and the other part too is, okay, so there's two parts to that, is we talked about sidewalks before downtown, you know, and it was brought up that, hey, let's try for grants if possible. This is an opportunity, you know, mainly because they're tied into one in need for sure, that's in also the schools, which is, enables us to get a grant, in this case. But we won't be notified whether or not we won or not until April, right? Then you'd have to go and start the design work. That takes a period of time. And typically, a project like this, because you're gonna have the option to, you'll have to have right-of-way, you'll have to look at the right-of-way, potentially purchase right-of-way. That requires, because it's federal funds, requires that you have to have certain things done before you do your environmental document, then the purchase of the right-of-way, then you have to go into and do the construction. So you're talking about, that could be 2 years. I mean, easy. So you tack on waiting a year to find out whether or not you get this, and then add on another couple of years. We're not talking about, you know, so sure, we can push it off, but that just means we push off the whole process another year. And we may or may not know. All we're going to do is put a grant in, and we'll see if we win.
It says 4 to 6 years before the construction, on this piece
Sure.
of paper I'm reading. Anyway.
Sure.
How much, if you know, Bill, approximately, would the cost be for engineering right-of-way acquisition, and then, of course, subsequently the construction?
I don't know, did y'all break it down that way? Sure, can't.
I don't know if we want to discuss the right-of-way portion in open meeting,
Right.
because that's a land deal.
Oh,
So typically, you know, let's say you have a $5 million, I don't know, you know, you take the whole budget and you break it up into the three components: the engineering, the right-of-way, and the construction. And unfortunately, I mean, now, you know, this is a little different. I mean, you start doing right-of-way in an urban area, that can be fairly costly, but the city's got an estimate, that's what we have.
One thing I learned too, if I understood it correctly, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, that we had to pay for the money, the cost up front, send the invoices to GDOT or whoever gets them, and they would reimburse us for the 20%. So we have to pay up front. I mean, it's not like we're just gonna pay the 20% and be done with it. We gotta pay it all up front, and as we go down the road, and then they will reimburse us for the 20% that we're due. Is
It is-
that what your understanding?
It is a reimbursement program, correct.
Okay. I just
Bill.
thought-
The correction is, they pay us back 80%, not 20%. So we pay for it up front, and then they reimburse us at 80%.
Okay, oh, yeah, that's
So
right.
we
that
send
was in the
$100
grant.
invoice in, so
Yeah.
we get
Thank you,
$80.
Daniel.
But they don't wait
Yeah.
to the very end. I mean, we can invoice it as it's
No,
going.
this is very similar to CDBG, is draws you make.
Yeah.
Do you think, Danny, this will come from SPOSH as we go down the road, all of the monies that have to be paid out?
Yes, this would be a SPOS eligible project if the council so desires.
What will it take away from other areas that need improvement, like our infrastructure? If we don't put it in transportation, SPOSH I'm talking about, do we have to give up another program in order to take this program on?
Well, there's been several talks about SPOS transportation from Fesco Drive, the new Fesco Road, to potential other public red light projects. So yes, you would take away from something, you just have to prioritize what the city council wants the focus, or it could come out of general fund. It's really, it's such a long window from now. We got plenty of time, 4 to 6 years. We'll be in another SPOS cycle by then, so if it passes, hopefully.
So we wouldn't be held, if I'm understanding you, to this sidewalk
If
construction.
If
If
you
there was
apply for the
something
grant,
else.
it would be for the sidewalk, but the federal government does not dictate where I take the money from. It says, resolution says the city council is aware of it's a 20% match.
Okay. So we could do other projects, bottom line. Okay. 'Cause I
Not
don't
with
wanna-
this grant, no, this grant is specific to
Right,
what we
yes,
submit,
but with the
but
splash money or some other funds.
SPOS transportation, it can be used for anything transportation related, but the resolution in your package is just for a 20% match. It just lets them know that I came to you, and got a resolution that y'all are required and know that's a 20% match. But as far as where it comes from, they don't care.
And that's going to have to be set aside, I would imagine, from
If we
SPOS
could get the grant,
somewhere.
then we would more than likely earmark that money, yes.
Okay, okay.
So if we get the grant, we wouldn't know till April or whatever, but things change between now and April. We're not required to take the grant at that point. We could, or are we required to take it? That's my first question. I have another question.
Our understanding is the first phase is for design. So the first money you'd get would be to hire a consultant that has to go out for RFQ for engineer firm to design it. And then once you do that, then once they design it, they submit it, and then you get another grant for the construction. That's another time frame. So yes, there's a time frame in between where a lot of things could happen. You could,
Okay.
not accept the money.
And it says if awarded the grant, the city would be required to pay for engineering, right-of-way acquisition, and construction with 80% reimbursement. So I think as I'm reading that, I'm answering my own question. We have to put $1 million of our money in it, so,
You pay 100% of the invoice up front, and then you send those invoices in through Atlas is the company that administers the grant through State of Georgia. State of Georgia gets some money through the federal government. So we would send the invoices to Atlas, they would send it up the chain, and then we would get reimbursed at 80% payment.
so we're looking at a $5 million project that we pay $1 million for. So these things like engineering, right-of-way acquisition, that's coming out of our,
Everything's coming out of the city's budget in draws at first, and then we get reimbursed.
We pay the $5
everything.
million.
but we only
in
get
other words.
reimbursed 80% of the
At
project.
the end of the project, if it stands, we will pay 20% of
Okay.
whatever that number is.
Okay.
But initially, we're paying 100%, but we get reimbursed.
Okay, thank
Have to
you.
pay it all up front, Melanie, or
No.
I guess in progress payments is the best way to describe that, as we have invoices to submit. Not all of it up front, like, tomorrow. What do you anticipate the length of the project? Any idea? Okay.
These grants are based on items that you think are large needed items but have no urgency. Because of some of the things that are tied to federal monies, such as the environmental and things like that, it becomes a much longer process. And to some of the comments, as Danny said, if it goes out to engineering and they come up with the plan, y'all don't like the plan, you can stop the process then. You're not tied into having to do the whole process.
So if we accept the grant, or if they offer it, and we accept it, we're not tied into it? Is that what you're saying?
I am.
Okay. Is that true? I mean, so like you say, if we don't like the engineering report, or we don't like the plans or whatever, we're not tied into spending that money that they've given us?
They're not going to force you to go forward with a project if you find during the project that you don't like it.
Okay. What is that LAP? I
So,
don't,
local administered project,
a local what?
administered project.
Are we certified for that?
We are.
Okay, so we're not going to have to pay admin fees to GDOT or somebody to,
No, the LAP program is set up so that we have qualified people here that understand the process, that follow the federal process, and by doing so, we meet the federal requirements. If we did not have that, then they wouldn't give us the money.
well, it said if we didn't have it, we would have to pay GDOT to deliver the project, which I would think might be expensive. And they even say it's expensive. Let me see. What's a scoping study?
So basically, it's that first part of the process where you study that what are the limits of the project? Does it make sense? We've picked a corridor. Does that make sense? What is the funding that goes along with it? Does that make sense? It defines the parameters in which you're going to design the project. So it's kind of the design phase is the very first part.
Okay, have we kind of done that already or no?
That would be part of it.
Okay. It says the material, I'm looking at a Q&A where, on this Zoom meeting, people watching the Zoom were asking questions, and it says the materials say that a project must be in PE.
That's preliminary engineering. So the first phase is preliminary engineering. The second phase is right-of-way, which is ROW, and the last phase is construction, CST. So it's just a terminology, but yes, PE is the design part.
Are we there? Or will we be there?
If we get the grant, and then we initiate a contract with our consultant to do the work, that will start the preliminary engineering, the design phase.
Okay, it says scoping, back to scoping, studies are eligible, but may not necessarily be as competitive as projects in other phases.
Sure. So sometimes projects have not sure exactly how they're going to go in the future, so they may not know where they're going to put a project, Let's say we're going to build a project where we're going to cross the interstate, and we're going to connect a couple areas. Well, you don't really know where you're going to go. So in that case, you want to put a little bit more in that first phase, that concept development. We're going to call it scoping, because we might want to go through scoping and get that done. And then, okay, now we've got it nailed down and we're going further. That's usually into something, a bigger project I'm in the middle of one right now where we're designing a roadway crossing I-85 in Brookhaven. We're going to develop a scope for it. We're going to get that approved. We're going to get all the stakeholders involved where they understand what's going on, and we understand what's going on all together. And then we'll say, okay, now we know that. Now we're going to move into the nuts and bolts of the design.
Okay.
This is such a small project. We're not going to need a scoping phase. It'll just be handled in that plan development.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Got some knowledge there, kiddo. Thank you. I just want to make sure that this grant and the monies we've got to spend personally, the city has to spend, is not going to interfere with possibly more projects that are needed more than sidewalks at the moment. It will not, or it will interfere, or maybe you don't know. That's really my biggest concern. I want to make sure we touch on infrastructure and things like that, and don't get hemmed into a sidewalk project that might be better for a future. Am I being concerned for nothing, Bill?
So I don't, well, no, it's not a concern for nothing, but all we're doing is requesting a grant.
Okay.
We're gonna see if we get approved for it, and then we'll look
Okay.
at our budget and what our role, our priorities are at the time, and then, you know, if it's all in line, if those are all in line, then we could move forward with it. But if we don't do the grant, then, you know, that the sure bet is you won't do it.
In my opinion, any city that applies for the grant and gets the grant would consider themselves really fortunate to have that opportunity to get $5 million worth of work with a potential investment of $1 million. Would you say that's fair, Bill?
I would say that's fair.
Are
And
there
it's-
infrastructure grants out there, Danny? Do you know? Or Bill? Bill, you may know.
This is an infrastructure grant, this one.
Well, I'm talking about when I say, it's my terminology, I apologize, but I'm talking about pipes and stuff like that.
So this would have a lot of pipes in it, because to put sidewalks in, you got to put in an entire new
I'm
stormwater
talking about a
system.
street,
potentially.
you know, under, like Main Street is an Old Town Loganville, and, you know, where things are 100 years old, between 80 and
Well,
100
this is
years
a,
old.
you know, this is a general fund project. This is not a utility project. So just to be clear, you know, you're applying for federal funds under a TAP grant for transportation, which is a general fund, general government purpose, and not an enterprise fund utility purpose. You can't be using general fund monies to change out water pipes. So, but a TAP grant like this would include a lot of infrastructure, including a whole lot of pipe.
So CDBG is infrastructure that we're applying for sewer.
For sewer everywhere, or wherever you
No,
want it?
it's for, it's not where I want it, it's where the city council wants it, but it's for some pump stations that we identified.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that's being covered too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, thank you, Bill.
I
Sure.
believe, oh, I'm sorry. I believe you touched on this, Paul and Danny, but when you do sidewalks, it fixes more than just walkability of a city. It touches areas where we have flooding issues, because curb and gutter will fix a lot of those issues, getting water to direct where it needs to instead of people's front yards, and potentially flooding them out if they have negative slopes,
Yeah, I mean,
stuff like that.
Stormwater is usually a big issue when you're doing these types of projects in smaller streetscapes, just because you're adding a true curb and gutter that's getting it into stormwater piping. Of course, I'm not the engineer, but
But
yes,
these-
stormwater is a big component of these a lot of times.
'Cause I know in both of these areas, flooding has been an issue. I actually live in one of these areas, not off one of these main roads, but nearby. And these houses were put in before stormwater was really even thought about. And our yards is the flooding device for these areas. So it's more than just doing walkability, so it does fix some of the other infrastructure issues while doing sidewalks. I love sidewalks, don't get me wrong. And, you know, it's like, I'm sorry, I just keep thinking of the old quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And if we don't even take this shot, we're missing out on potentially $4 million to fix more than just sidewalks, but other issues that are related to this project. Is that kind of what sidewalks kind of entail as well, Bill?
That's exactly right.
I
And
hear
if-
your
and if
point,
we-
Brandon. I just want to make sure we're not
pardon me.
missing something we might need more if we go this route. But it sounds like we're not. It's not going to interfere with anything else that we might need more than sidewalks at this point in time. So
Okay,
I think we're saying the same.
Same
I just
thing.
wanted to make sure.
I just want to let know for the public, it's more than just, like, it will fix other, it will address other issues, not just walkability. And in these areas, especially if they're at Bay Creek, I don't really want to get too much into this story, but when I did career day at one of the schools, they sent me thank you letters. And one of the thank you letters included a note from someone that was in third grade saying, please, can you do anything you can to help get sidewalks to school? Because it is really hard for us to make it across and actually get to school from where I live. So I know kids are trying to walk to that school, especially from Granite, Bay Creek Mobile Home Park, and the Muse. I even talked to people that live off of, was it Perry Street and Bruce Street? There's a lot of roads right there with a lot of families. And it is a traffic nightmare through there, so even if we keep, 30, 40 cars off the road, it could be easier on, I'm not saying it's gonna magically reduce traffic, but it has the potential to in those areas.
Well, it's safer, like you
It's
said.
a lot safer.
Yeah, I think the safety would be my main,
So it's more than just
yeah,
walkability.
gotcha.
All
Well,
right.
thank you. It makes me feel better.
Are you okay with consent?
Yes.
Everybody else?
Everybody okay with consent? Okay, consent it is.
All right. The second item is a house cleaning item. Back in August, we voted on to move forward with our 2025 LMIG funding in the amount of $377,237, but it should have had the 7% contingency where the maximum value is $403,365. So it's just wanted to make that correction. Anybody have any questions? If not, I'd like to put it on consent.
It's fine.
That's good.
That's my consent items. And just an update, so the State Route 20 project, they did have a field plan review as part of the process. Has to be done, in advance. I know they moved the State Route 20 project out to July based on funding, but typically they do that review 6 months before the letting, so that would have pushed it in January. Here we are well, actually it was in September, so, they're still, the GDOT is still working toward getting the project ready to let, so, anyway. That's all I have.
Bill, do you want to give an update on the paving on 20?
And GDOT's looked at the paving on 20 there where the gas station is being constructed, and it's very rough. We've had lots of complaints. City has, I have. We reached out to GDOT. They went out in the field and looked at it. They're going to make them repave it. I don't know that they got back to us about when, but the fact is that they're not going to. It's a permit issue with GDOT, and they're going to make sure that they grind it up and repave it.
Is that something, Danny, you can put on the city Facebook so people, the citizens, because they are upset?
Once I have a confirmation from the state, I will.
Okay,
I'll
thank
say
you.
something that doesn't happen because this is a state, because we were told a month ago that they were going to do it, and it's been sitting like that for a
Oh,
month.
dear,
So
okay.
I don't want to say it's going to be done, and 6 months later, it still hasn't
that
been done.
makes sense.
So
Okay.
as soon as I get confirmation, I'll do something with that.
Thank you very much.
That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Now we move to the Public Works Facilities Committee. Patty Wolf.
I've got the trash report for Jeremy and team. Public Works trash report, total litter pickup, 350 pounds. Public Works chipping report, total stops, 381, total tons, 17. They always do a terrific job. Thank you, Jeremy and team.
Okay. Anything else, Patty?
That's it.
Okay.
Thanks.
We'll move to Economic Development Committee. Brandon Whitfield.
Thank you, Skip. We need to have a discussion tonight about 254 Main Street in regards with the DDA and the IGA. I believe it might be better if maybe Skip, who serves as our liaison, and Paul, who's the attorney for both, to kind of give us the rundown. I know Tara's here. If we want to call her up, we can. I watched, not the past meeting, but the meeting before where they discussed it. So I believe a lot of us probably watched that meeting, but if you haven't, the breakdown, as I understand it, they could correct me, is they want to separate the two and just focus on the front half and potentially just putting it for sale to see what comes up. But please, Skip or Paul, let me know kind of what's
Well, I don't think Paul was there at that meeting, but
Yeah,
there,
I was not, but I'll be happy to provide any,
there was
answer any questions.
quite a bit of
about that.
discussion, especially when we got into the cottages and how many could be put on that space, and did we want that many put on the space, and lots of questions. I think it'd be fair to say that the DDA did not feel comfortable having answers for those questions. So they want to do something. They want the council to allow them to do something. And what they'd like to do, and it's already in 2 parcels, they would like to take the front part, which is a commercial side of 254 Main, and go ahead and put it out for bid. It's for sale, put a sign on the property, and hopefully get some real estate interest in that property and start getting some offers coming in. Would that be a fair assumption, Tara? You want to come up and share yours? Sure. Come on up.
Terry, I think he said Tara.
That's all right.
Come up together, y'all
Yeah,
both are good.
Terry, I don't think you were there either. Were you? Were you there? Okay, I thought you were
Terry
on
knows a
vacation.
lot. Come on up,
So,
Terry.
yeah.
Help her.
We do want to put it for sale, but we want a contingency that the developer do the plans themselves instead of us pay for the study. So we want to be able to approve what they're going to put there.
And there was some concern that folks were fairly happy with the information on the Sizemore plan, and that you guys could use that to show the developer what you had in mind conceivably.
Yes.
Would y'all be willing to put together a packet? I know the city, like y'all talked about in y'all's meeting, have plans for 254 that go back a good ways. Maybe, putting a packet together to send out so when people do call about the for sale, they have a direction to go in. Because one of my concerns would be, if I was, I'm not trying to start a rumor here, please God. But say if I was a builder and I was gonna go buy that land to build on it, and I didn't get a lot of direction, I would submit plans to y'all and say, hey, this is what I think would look good here. And y'all said, that's not really the direction that we're wanting to go in. I just want y'all to be a little clearer with them to make sure that, not saying you don't have to do a study or anything like that, but just have some of those renderings from the past and all, so they kind of get a guideline. And maybe just like a little write-up saying, we want to match some of the historical character, stuff like that of downtown, so it makes it easier for the potential buyer to give a better product.
So I think in our last meeting, our decision was that we wanted you guys to tell us
to do
what
that.
you
Okay.
wanted. Yeah, so we are not exactly clear on what the city council wants. So whatever you want, we'll get that. So if you guys have a look you want, if you want it to match what you're doing with the ordinance changing, or whatever you want downtown, we'll do, but we want to go ahead and move forward with that plan, put the property for sale, and then we'll find someone who will build what you guys want there.
Okay.
That's the IGA, right?
Well,
To
the
some
IGA will
extent.
be putting the property, possibly go ahead and transfer it over to the DDA where they're ready to sell it. We hadn't talked about that a lot, Paul, but I think that's what they're asking for.
Yeah, so, the DDA's role here for all of y'all is to do things that y'all can't do. If y'all are gonna sell this property, y'all have a certain path that you have to take. You've got to sell it essentially to the highest bidder, without regard to what's put on it. You have to sell it to the highest bidder, under Georgia law, with a few exceptions. You can sell it, you can list it with a realtor, you can do a public auction, you can do seal bid, you can do all those things. If you utilize the DDA as your partner in this process, and the DDA steps in, and the DDA provides guidance to potential developers with what you want it to look like, through an RFQ, through an RFP, through a concept plan, those sort of things, then the DDA has the ability, working with you, to then look to selecting a project or developer that may be in the best interest of the economic development and revitalization of the downtown of the city of Loganville, which is a different goal than getting the highest dollar for the sale of the property itself. So, sort of make sure, one way that a lot of small towns in Georgia discuss it, they say that the DDA in a lot of ways serves as a real estate arm for the city. So do URAs and other development authorities. similar to DDA. So I think the key is that there's a desire, what I'm hearing generally, that the property be developed in a certain way, that it helps downtown. That component of it is going to be most appropriate for DDA to help you develop, for them to, and they can rely on old plans, old schematics, old things of those. And then for you guys is to determine sort of how do you partner with them on that. And usually that is some sort of share of the proceeds. I would not suggest that the property be transferred to the DDA until the closing table. There's a whole lot of reasons why you don't want to do that. I don't need to get into all those, but the DDA doesn't have funding and doesn't have insurance policies and those sort of things to be able to maintain the property, but the city does. So normally what happens under a project like this is the property won't transfer until it sells. But the project will come back to them for their approval. Hey, we like developer B, or we like developer G, or whoever it is, and then they make a recommendation to y'all and bring it back to y'all, and then y'all say, yep, all right, let's go forward with that. And we're gonna authorize it. And you can give all that authority to them. So we can flesh all that out in an IGA, but just to be clear is, if y'all are selling it, you're selling it to the highest bidder in accordance with Georgia law. If they're selling it in accordance to their mandates under the Downtown Development Authority Act, which gives them a whole lot more flexibility and a whole lot more power and a whole lot more ability to craft exactly what you want for your downtown.
So talking with another city that's gone through this before, oh goodness, I know Melanie can ask me which city it was. It was at GMA, and it was at the Georgia Downtown. It's not Griffin, but it's near there. I'll get it to you, I promise. It was what? Oh, sorry, I thought Christy said something. Maybe. But what they do is they go out and just get a concept sketch. I can usually get a sketch for like 5,000 or less. If we want to come up with just like some general stuff, like, hey, we want to match the Main Street feel of downtown, and we only want to be a certain height, but we want varied roof lines. We worked on that, me and Paul worked on that document that we passed for the Jeff Speck, who's very highly regarded in downtown development, for the 7 rules of success. We could use that as a guideline to give the illustrator or someone who does this, just come up with a quick sketch. I know we already have some from before, but it'd be something really easy to do. They said they'll go out with a sketch because it's also good to show people like, hey, this is kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about development of downtown. Because I know some people think when you talk about development downtown, they're thinking, I hate throwing other cities under the bus, but like what's happened in like say Snellville or Lawrenceville, and that's not really the case of what we're going after. So just having a quick sketch so we can show this is kind of the rendering of what we have in mind when we talk about doing this property. And this is the rendering we're going to go out and use to be like, hey, this is kind of the guidelines of what we would like y'all to submit. Now, I don't know if that would be on us as a city. I mean, I know we probably could find somebody to do that maybe quicker or faster, or maybe we do it in tandem with the DDA. It's whatever y'all recommend, but at least having I know we have some sketches before, but I think the last sketch I've seen, like a full rendering, I don't have the date in my head, but it's more than, 4 or 5 years old.
Yes, sure.
Does it have to be a sketch, or if we're just looking, hey, this is what we want to put here, can we not find some photos of buildings we like? I mean,
I'm open.
I'm just asking,
Yeah, no, I'm open
rather
to
than
it.
spending $5,000, somebody draw something that we're not gonna use anyway, but, hey, we like these looks. We like this concept. We
like
like,
a design guideline.
right,
That's,
we like a loft apartment over a restaurant, or whatever. Can we not just,
Yeah, I
and
think
they could maybe find something that they like, and we all go, hey, these are all the things we like, and see if we can't maybe narrow it down to 2 or 3 that way?
I think from our last meeting, though, sorry.
Terry, can you get Terry a microphone, Mike? And this may be what you're going to be talking about, Terry, but I do want to let everybody know that the DDA was very interested in making sure that whatever goes there fits our downtown.
Fits the downtown.
They didn't want a 4-story building, those kinds of things. Go ahead, Terry.
Right. I think one of the things we talked about, Tara, you can confirm this too, was that we were we were of the opinion that most of the developers that will show up, and we've seen them here in Loganville, have shown up with designs from the sidewalk all the way to the bushes in the back. And a lot of the contractors and commercial developers that are out here already have a lot of these designs already sitting in their office. So it's a matter of presenting or having somebody present the property so that that person who's interested in it, they're going to be in that business to begin with. They'll already have some basic designs already. And it's a matter of talking to us about it and saying, well, we want it to kind of match what you see here. We don't want it, like you said, we're not going to look at anything over 2 stories. But more importantly, the way I understood the IGA was we had to get that directive about the height and how you want the design to kind of look so that we could tell the developer or the real estate agent what y'all wanted, and then we could use that as our guide going forward. Because all these commercial people have a stack of drawings in the office. And so that point of spending money that we've already spent many other times already, I think we can bypass that and save us some money and maybe expedite, hopefully getting somebody in and developing the property.
Yeah, I think the DDA decided that we don't have a clear vision of what you guys want, so we don't feel comfortable paying for drawings or studies or anything like that until we know what you guys want. So if you guys could decide what you wanted, put it in the IGA and pass it on to us, we will make that happen. But we have to know what that is and what guidelines you guys want us to use. So I don't think we're really interested in participating in the drawings and things like that, because ultimately it sounds like you make the decision.
Okay.
I have a question. So if we fast forward and the moon and the stars line up, we'll get to the closing table, and we've got a moratorium. How does the moratorium fit into here? How do you design a Main Street when we haven't done the rewrite yet? We don't know the new architectural standards.
Sure, yeah, I mean, you do have a moratorium in effect, and it would affect rezones. I don't know where this property is currently zoned, so I mean, that would be one particular issue. That being said, usually these processes take some time. I mean, you're starting your code rewrite, you're starting this process. This is not, you're not going to have a developer sitting on the door on January the 1st, right? I mean, this takes some time to develop, so I don't think there's anything wrong with them taking place in tandem. And your RFQ or RFP from the DDA can certainly highlight the reality that, you know, that start times may be lagged.
So what do we want to do as a council? Do we want to, well, like, what's y'all's idea of wanting to go forward with this? Y'all want to go ahead and start working on an IGA, or it sounds like we need to work on design standards, stuff like that first? I don't know if we could do it all tonight, but maybe we could do it as a collaborative, maybe through email or something, and be able to come back next month, and I can tally up the ones, and you can send in pictures of buildings that you like. We can pull the old sketches from 254 Main sketches from back in the day. I know I have some too. And we can just kind of go from there, maybe take this up at the next meeting, but go ahead and have Paul start working on a sample IGA and just leave the guideline portion out. And that will, in that IGA, we'll talk about like the land not going until a certain time in the process and all that kind of administrative stuff. And then we can fill in the design as we go.
I would like for you to use your committee
Do it through the committee?
to sit down and talk about the things we already have, what we're looking to do. You can have some DDA people there, and together come up with what we think would be a workable plan.
Yep, I'm always in favor of committees, having a committee meeting, and the committee come back and present to the council, but I also, it's not my world, but it's yours, but I think the language of the IGA might be the easier part of this. It's getting 7 people to agree on design standards is going to be the holdup. And for me, I kind of like choices, kind of like what we did with the rewrite companies. We had 3 choices, and we kind of narrowed down.
Well, you were talking about getting 7 people to agree, but in November, those faces are going to change. So I don't want to really rush into I mean, I agree the language is gonna be the easy part, but again, the design standards are actually gonna fall in the rewrite. And that's a year-long process. So, I mean, we're kind of in a catch-22. I mean, we can start working on what we want it to like, but then our design standards may turn around and say that, well, you picked that, but that's not even what you can build.
Is it possible for the rewrite company to start design standards with downtown specifically for this?
Well, their process, I believe, is actually getting the citizens involved and having the citizens actually pick a lot of the design standards and stuff. And I believe even if we do have a committee meeting, that's obviously open to the public, and we could even put out designs, say like, hey, this is what we're talking about. What do you think as the citizenry? Give us some comment or something, and have some feedback, maybe have them come in, maybe do it more than just one, 'cause I doubt we're gonna get it all in one committee meeting.
The Main Street training has a lot of design standards you guys can look at. We have the hard copies we can provide to you, but also we already have the library that's about to be fixed, so we kind of know what our design standards are. It's going to need to match, in my opinion. I don't know that I would hold for a whole year or hold for their design standards, because we've already built a pretty substantial building in the middle of Main Street. That's just my opinion, though. That's not DDA opinion.
No, and I agree with you. I think we all kind of picture in our mind probably something very similar if we kind of look at what's in downtown now. So I don't think it's going to be, sorry, I'm away from the microphone, going to be super entailed. But some of the other areas, like talking about varied roof heights and talking about, height guidelines, stuff like that. Because right now, what I believe is 4 stories in downtown, but really, we know that's probably going to change with our rewrite. So we want to kind of make sure we stay in that with our design standards. I'm happy to take this to committee and come back and report next month on what we find in committee. Because we might, as a committee, come up with a whole different plan.
And
I'm
could you
sitting
try?
here
I don't want
processing
to take
what
up 5
Melanie said.
hours at times here, over something that needs to be flushed out in committee, in other words.
I struggle with, I don't want to hold up progress, but I also don't want to interrupt the rewrite. We're going to be rewriting something that should be rewritten in the rewrite.
There are, like Tara said, not just in, when the Main Streets came out, there are general guidelines, not just for them, but for downtown association, other places like that we could pull from and look at. And a lot of that, and we could even look at our buildings that we have downtown and look at the architecture there and pull from that. So I don't think really is gonna change much for what we kind of decide versus, because they already did, y'all put out the sandwich board out there on 254 at Braxton's
Yeah, we've
idea.
already-
So we know people want a restaurant there, like it's not rocket
I
science.
just would caution against putting this off any longer, if that's what you guys really want to do. You passed it along to us, so if you guys want us to do something with it, we're ready to do something with it. We've talked about it for at least 62,000 meetings, so we either need to move on and build
I
something at
agree.
254 Main, or we will do something better with our time at the DDA. That's not.
Yeah, and I don't want to discourage you either, Terry. Y'all doing great, but I do struggle with, we're about to pay a lot of money for a rewrite, and we're having a discussion without that company who's going to do the rewrite. And if I was that company, I would want to be involved in this discussion.
Well, before committee, how about we ask Danny or someone to see what they recommend or something, like anything that they can do. I can't promise that they are gonna be able to do anything yet, but at least we'll have a question to maybe ease some minds there. We continue to go forward, so it sounds like I'm gonna set a committee, so those on my committee, look out for an email and we'll put some dates together. Thank you, Tara, and Terry, thank y'all so much.
And I'd love to see that committee bring in a couple of the DDA members,
Yeah, well,
to work together, those that are available. Okay, anything else?
Christie, want to talk about our Autumn Fest?
Good evening, everyone. Our Fall Festival is set for Saturday, October the 18th We do have over 250 vendors signed up now, and I have a waiting list, so I can fill those if someone cancels. So it's going to be a good day. We have live entertainment throughout the day on our town green. We have vendors all the way from here to 78, all over spread out downtown. So I hope y'all will come join us, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., October 18th.
Thank you, Christy. Skip, I think you might have an event you might want to talk about.
Well, the local Legacy Lions Club has an event on the 25th, and they've been doing that for 28 years. This is the 28th annual, and it's Trick or Treat on Main. I suspect for those that do come by, they'll also see some politicians out there. That usually happens on these cycles. And you get to see a lot of people in a short amount of time, and a lot of them are kids in costumes, and it's really fun. It
It
really
is fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's,
Buy a lot of candy if you're gonna be handing it out. A
Yeah.
whole
I was
lot of
gonna
candy.
go down, I think all three. Melanie, I believe you have an event. Would you like to announce it?
Yeah, we have the Historical Society of Loganville is doing our 3rd annual cemetery tour. We're gonna do the Hillcrest Cemetery Tour. That's the one right behind A Bite to Eat. That'll be Sunday, October 26th, at 3 o'clock, weather permitting. We'd love to have everybody. There's no cost for that.
May I make an announcement?
Yes, I guess.
Oh,
Sure.
I'm looking
Sure.
at Brandon. What I-
Well, I got Lisa next, but then you.
Oh, okay, after
Lisa?
Lisa.
Yep, I just wanted to say, I think we'd be very remiss tonight if we didn't recognize our police department for putting on a very successful donut dash. As-
Wonderful day.
As I saw Skip there, I saw Brandon there, I participated, and you guys, everything was flawless, very well executed. And I think Janice Tribble and Harold will be very proud of what y'all did. And I think it was a record number of participants this year.
312, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say over
312 runners.
Yes, so
And
thank you.
I wasn't one of them.
And you're going to be doing a presentation on that, Dick, once you get all the numbers and everything done.
Still waiting on the payment from the race registration people, so next month will be.
Awesome. That's going to be exciting.
Well, cheers to you guys, it was fantastic.
Very successful.
Patty?
Tomorrow night at 5:30, Walton County Chambers is putting on the candidate forum. They're
I think that's Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Wednesday. Y'all
Tomorrow
can't trust
night
me
is-
to get
is
anything
Alma's.
right. Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I just found out today, we can be there in person. I thought it was all gonna be on film. So those who want to be there can be there. And it's the Loganville section, I believe, is 5:30 to 6:30. So I think that's very important if you want to learn about your candidates. So,
Well, good deal. Unless, Ann, Bill, y'all got some events? No. All right, I believe that's all we have tonight. Let's go.
Okay, very good. Move now, city manager's report, Danny Roberts.
Just have a couple of things. I know y'all are talking about the donut dash, but I think Kyle, did he finish first in his class? Chief, Kyle?
And his son.
Finished first in their class, so he's not here tonight, but I know he's watching.
Super.
And if I don't say it, she's gonna hit me. She used to be my admin assistant, but Jennifer McKenzie's birthday today. Happy birthday, Jennifer. The only other thing I have for you, there was some discussion amongst council about combining November and December's Thursday meeting, Monday to Thursday. Are we okay with combining? I don't believe we have any zoning cases. So we could combine the November Thursday meeting.
The December.
Is it already been advertised, I guess? So scratch that, but December, yes, December, we could combine it.
I don't see any problem with combining them, with the understanding we all know we're gonna be there as long as we have to be there to get things resolved.
So December will be a combined meeting?
Be
You're
fine?
okay with that?
Everybody okay with it?
Works. That's all I have, thank you.
Okay. Well, then we'll move to city attorney's updates. Paul Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a good segue for something y'all had asked me to do, and so I've looked into it. I wanted to get y'all's input. It's no decisions you have to make tonight. We'll work on some ordinance changes to have for you for November and December so that your new council that's coming on in January will have a little more flexibility in setting of your meetings. So you're going to want staff input on this as well, but really y'all's input. So your ordinance, your charter's fine. We've got flexibility in the ordinance. We got flexibility in the charter, but we do need to change the ordinance. And what I mean by that is this: it has both shalls unless otherwise ordered. Usually what you have seen over the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years in small government is that the called meeting and the regular meetings, where it was more common that you always had both, that you've been moving away from that and getting more to where you just have one meeting and then the called meeting is an add-on. Y'all can do it any which way you want to, and so I just want to kind of throw it out there and get feedback from y'all. The main ordinance change is just going to be in the vernacular. We're just going to change a couple of shalls to mays. And so there's several different ways that you look out there and you see different cities doing it. And so I just wanted to get y'all's input and get it out there so y'all could give me feedback on exactly what you wanted, and really on staff. Because the big issue is this advertisement of zonings. So you have you need to meet monthly, right? We know that. Your charter calls for monthly regular meetings. Your ordinance says then that you shall have your regular meeting on the Thursday and you shall have a called work session on the Monday immediately preceding. The suggestion is going to be to get that second shall changed to may. That'll give you the flexibility. But then beyond that, sort of how you proceed really needs to be y'all sort of making a decision on a couple of different options. One is, similar to what Danny just suggested, some of your councils that regularly have 2 meetings like y'all do, what a lot of them have gone to that we've seen, I went out and sort of looked around and made a couple of calls as well, is that you'll stick with sort of the normal of a Monday, Thursday, or a called and a work session and a regular, except for December and July. So at the beginning of each year, you just publish your calendar, and basically in December and July, just because that's sort of around holidays, you go with one meeting in those 2 months, but all the others you go with sort of the normal work session and then a regular. That's one path. The other path is that you just go to a regular meeting, and then you only call work sessions as you think that you may need them. And usually the way that's drafted is it says that called meetings may be called in conjunction with the input of the city manager and the mayor, or any committee chair, et cetera, kind of like you can call a committee meeting anytime. So really just wanting to get input from y'all on this. And the biggie is going to be this, is if y'all wanted to move towards more, one longer meeting when you didn't have as much instead of 2 meetings, it would require just staff knowing that sort of expectation, mainly on the zoning, right? Because you do have some advertising requirements for those zoning meetings. And right now, those advertised public hearings are occurring on that Monday night, which is really, even under your statute now, is the optional meeting, whereas in the required meeting is the Thursday meeting. So it's really hearing from y'all on what y'all want. Some cities basically just publish a calendar, which I know y'all publish your meeting calendar at the beginning of the year, and that includes some meetings that are going to be combined. Some cities just say we're just having our regular meeting and we're only going to call work sessions when we need them, and we're going to put it all into one night. And so I've researched enough on your ordinance and your charter to know sort of what the vernacular changes are that will make those necessary changes to give more flexibility. But then I think it's a function of working with staff and telling staff what you want on how you want these meetings to go forward. And I think this has come up because we've had, I don't know, maybe this year 2 times where, the Thursday meeting was sort of very perfunctory in nature, in that there was action to be taken, but it was almost predetermined action, but you have to have that regular meeting because it's called. So hearing from y'all on what you want, and then staff can work with me, and we can come back in November, December with a full plan on what an ordinance change would look like, and really more an operational change for your staff on how to move forward. And the real rub is just figuring out the zoning meetings, because you got to have those advertisements correct. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions or hear from the council.
In my opinion, I would prefer, of course I won't be here, but that's all right, I would prefer to continue to have the work session and then the council meeting. One big reason is because our citizens have told us they would like to have the opportunity to speak, which we do at the work session, and we will in a few minutes. And they also, we changed it a couple years ago, they wanted to be able to speak before the vote was taken. That seemed to be something that they felt like every city, every county should do that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you wouldn't have public hearings and all that at all. You would have opportunity for the public to be heard. But it would function like y'all have had some combined meetings. You would have your public hearing at the front end of the meeting, and then under new business, you would then take action on that item, which a lot of cities do. But a lot of cities, so I would say this, is that from my just non-exact statistical analysis, it's probably about half and half. About half the cities that I went out there looking at are more traditional still of 2 meetings, a regularly scheduled work session where most of the meat and potatoes happens, and then a regular meeting, the official meeting where the voting takes place. And about half of the cities that I looked at, they're down to 1 meeting where they do it all, and then when they know that there's going to be sort of extra work, extra presentations, then they'll call a work session meeting sort of ad hoc as needed. So I think it's really just letting your, we'll make the ordinance change, that's not a big deal. It's letting your staff know sort of how y'all want to operate on the regular,
If we went to 1 meeting, what night would it be?
whatever y'all choose. Your charter does not mandate when the meeting is, your ordinance does, and y'all have the authority to change that, that in your ordinance.
I think what's more important to me is when do we get this before the meeting? How many days before the meeting, so we have time to prepare?
Stay the same as now.
So we'd have it Wednesday for a week from Thursday.
Yeah, it's usually the week before the council meeting, Wednesday.
Okay, so we would have a good, almost, 8 days?
Yeah, nothing changed. I mean, it just
Okay.
like if you went to a Monday meeting, you had it Wednesday at noon for tonight's meeting.
Wednesday at noon yesterday, the day before, or the week before?
Last Wednesday.
Okay,
Like it is now.
Yes.
yes, okay, just,
And again, it's whatever y'all want to do. And like I said, sort of the hybrid that I found out there is there's a lot of cities that have the more traditional system where they have a work session on, but then they sort of pre-plan every year that says, that's fine, we have 2 meetings, but two months out of the year, we only have 1 meeting, sort of around the holiday schedules.
And we generally do that also.
Paul, do we have to give notice? The reason I'm asking this question is sometimes on Monday nights, everything or most things go on consent, and we may hold over a vote, but we may not have to if we're not going to have a meeting. Can we be flexible, like when Monday night ends up pretty much taking care of all of our business? Can we?
So that's the problem with the way that you're structured right now.
Right.
Is that right now your official meeting is Thursday.
Right.
And so that's the rub that we're trying to fix
Okay.
is that in practicality, there have been, I can think of 2 or 3 meetings to where everything was resolved on Monday night, but y'all had to come back to have your official meeting. And so that's the issue. And so we could put flexibility in the ordinance to where if the city manager sees that it's going to be a manageable evening, or manageable month, that then they can then, absolve with the Monday meeting to just have the Thursday meeting. But that creates trouble with staff if we're dealing with public hearings. So that's why we're trying to just hear from what y'all are interested in doing so that we can work with staff to make sure and get it in a structure that works. There is flexibility other than y'all need to meet each month, right? And that 1 meeting generally needs to be, doesn't always have to be, but generally needs to be at the same time each month. And so the problem we've had is we figured everything out at the work session, but we have to come back because that is your
Yeah.
official meeting.
We've
on the
done that
Thursday
several
night.
times.
True.
I like the flexibility idea, if we can go that route.
Everyone sounds like they won't be flexible.
All right, well, then, if y'all, let's do it this way then. I heard flexible, I heard, but generally, everybody still likes having 2 meetings when there's a lot to be done to sort of flesh it all out. So let's get with staff, and if y'all have any other input on that over the next month, shoot it over to Danny and Jeff, and then we'll work with staff to come up with an ordinance change that will give you flexibility. And we'll work with Robbie to make sure we can get the advertising element component correct.
But if we do, like you said, we change the second shall to a may, that gives us the flexibility, that even, we don't have to think about July, December, we can take care of it in June and in
Correct.
November.
It gives you a
Yeah.
little more flexibility. And you can make the argument y'all can do it now like you're doing for December, but again, that shall, I want to get that word out of there for y'all to give you more flexibility. But I want staff to have clear direction on, okay, we see the next month is going to be light. You know, there's not going to be a lot of issues to happen. You know, the mayor and the city manager can basically, you know, void or not call the work session and just have a combined session on that, just with their own authority as they're developing the agenda. See, like, wait a minute, we don't have a lot on this agenda. We're going to come for 2 different nights when we can really get it all done in one night. And so that's the flexibility that I think will work. It's just working out the advertisement component with the zoning, planning and zoning too.
In the spirit of making sure the public has a chance to speak before we vote, is there flexibility in public speaking before the vote if we have one meeting?
Well, if you're talking about taking zoning action, there's always a public hearing before zoning action anyway.
Except for that.
Yeah, yeah, there's always, I mean, you've got, like I said, just in my ad hoc analysis, half the cities I looked up, they just have one meeting a month. They conduct the public hearing at the front end, the public hearings, and then they go through old business, and then they go through new business. And so the public hearing is discussed on, and then they take the vote that night. I mean, it does truncate things.
But I think, you're probably thinking what I'm thinking, that if we only have one meeting, we still need to make sure that we have public comment at that one meeting.
I would like that.
Yes, that's what,
Yeah, what's on the agenda, that's not the issue. It's just, are you having 1 or 2?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's not what's on the agenda, it's the frequency of the meetings.
Okay? Is everybody okay? You don't need a motion for that, do you?
No, we'll just work with staff and come back with the change and some structure, hopefully from staff next month.
Okay. Well, with that said, and thank you, Paul, we'll move into public comment. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes. If anybody would like to speak, now's your time. Yes, Tara?
Hi, guys. I'm back. My name's Tara Argo. I live at 400 Little Carter Cove, and I work at 3460 Highway 78, which is Loganville Ford, and that is why I'm here tonight, because we saw on tonight's agenda that the city is purchasing 2 vehicles from Wade Ford, and we have been having this conversation kind of in the shadows with people we knew at the city the last couple of years since I transferred to Loganville Ford, but looked like a good time to have an official conversation about it. So we also know that you guys recently purchased some trucks from Angela Kraus Ford, which is in Marietta, I believe. So before I start there, I want you guys to know that Loganville Ford has been in the city of Loganville for 20 years. Our owner, Mr. Paul, has lived in the city of Loganville for 40 years. He actually moved Kerry Paul Ford here and changed it to Loganville Ford from DeKalb County. He's retired now. We have 4 executive managers, myself, Tilly and Brad Carell and Lance Goodson. We all live in the city of Loganville, all 4 of us, and half our staff works in the city of Loganville, and 75% of us live in Walton County. So we are not sure why our city is not doing business with us. We do all of Walton County. You guys spoke about it earlier. Walton County Sheriff, we have all their business. We do Walton County Board of Education. We are pretty high contributors to the community. We don't know any time the city that I've worked there has approached us for any sort of donation. We've denied it. We donate to all the schools, the churches. We donated a car to the Teacher of the Year for Walton County. So we are doing a whole lot for the community. Outside that, Mr. Paul himself personally donates into the community healthy 7 figures usually a year. So we are here. I brought Matt. He is our guru on government sales and things like that. We looked over what you got from Wade Ford, and we don't see anything we probably couldn't match or do better. And because we are in the city limits and we all live in the city limits, we have a really good reason to give you guys a good deal, because that's affecting our taxes. And you guys are going to be using SPLOST money, which we are a very high collector of for Walton County. And lastly, there are 2 other dealerships that are in Loganville. So if you aren't going to use us, we would just suggest that maybe you shop them too, because all new car dealers can do pretty much the same thing. If Wade Ford can do it, we're in their region, we can do it too. But we are a little concerned about the optics to the people in the city of Loganville, why our own city doesn't buy their cars from us, because we want them to keep funding all that sales tax we use for our projects.
That's a fair question. Dick, you got a couple comments?
I remember we discussed this before.
Right.
And that's, Wade Ford has a state contract. That's the reason.
That is
council voted
true.
for
We always prefer to buy local when we can, but I believe it's, Danny, you want to chip in here?
Yeah, so the issue was SPLOST requires competitive bid, state contract addresses that. When we don't buy state contract, we try to, the council requires us to do 3 bids. We were getting to a point where so many companies would not give us a bid because they knew we were going to go somewhere else. And I mean, it became a huge ordeal for staff to even get 2 bids. So council made a decision that we buy from state contract, period. I don't know why Loganville Ford don't, maybe they do try to get on state contract, I don't know. But certain dealers provide certain, not every Wade Ford provides the F-150s, it may be Allen Vigil, but we buy from state contract.
Okay.
So it's extremely hard to get competitive bids in a timely manner.
I remember those times. I do remember.
How's the state contract work? Is it, I mean, is it a fixed price for each thing, or?
Yes. You go in there and you literally pick what you want, and it gives you the price option. And it meets the law for competitive bid.
Why do you guys not have a state contract?
I don't know the answer to that,
Matt
but I
probably
can
does.
say that we looked at what you guys, the pricing you guys got, and you didn't get any sort of special pricing. They're also sending your cars out to have them worked on, which we do in-house, and it just doesn't seem, I could be wrong, but if we're doing Walton County, I don't know why. We know we saved Walton County a lot, because when you build that car online, they're gonna give you options that you don't need or want, and we strip those off for Walton County, and we save them a lot of money. We do our tinning in-house, we use our own in-house for everything, because obviously we have a lot of skin in the game as far as how much Walton County spends. So,
if we don't buy from state contract, we have to have 3 estimates.
That's a council decision, yes. If you tell me I don't, then we won't. But the
That's
question comes up, what did you competitive bid this? And this was 4 years ago, I think, maybe 5 years ago. It became a huge ordeal with some council from not buying from Loganville Ford, and we just couldn't get other bids. It actually got so bad, I was literally at a dealership, literally purchasing the vehicle, and I was called when I was assistant. I was the fire chief, and I was told to take the check back and leave. And I cannot tell you how embarrassing that was as the fire chief to go to the manager and get the check back because they didn't want me to buy there. So
Loganville Ford wasn't responding timely, or?
I don't know if it's Logan Ford, but other dealers that we have to get competitive bids. So if we don't buy a state contract, we have to go through whoever sells the vehicle X. If it's a Charger, we have to.
Yeah, so we deal directly with Keith Brooks, like he calls us himself, so we can develop that relationship. Matt can be your point of contact. And if we can't beat their price, we can't beat their price, but from what we saw on the agenda packet, you guys aren't getting any sort of special deal or anything we couldn't
No, it's just a
match or
state
do
contract. There's
better.
no deals.
Right.
It's just meets, it checks the boxes for procurement that this state contract was bid from other dealers, and whoever got the lowest, the state awarded that contract to.
Right.
So this is through the state procurement, not through City of Loganville.
Yeah, and we don't, I'm guessing we don't have a state contract, we know
You do
that.
not.
But we are just saying, we know that we can probably save you a lot of money, so if you would consider it, you don't have to, obviously, because you're in charge, Danny. But-
No, this was a clear directive from the city council
I know, I'm just
to
kidding.
get competitive bids.
So, city council, if you could clearly direct him to buy his cars at Loganville Ford, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, can we put that on next month's agenda and we can hash it out?
Mayor, I'm gonna have to look at, I think it's an audit issue for competitive bids. It takes a project that literally takes chief a day to get a price into weeks, if not months. And then they stop returning your phone call.
Right.
Because if you go to, say, dealer X 4 times and you never get a bid from them, or you never get to buy something from them, they're going to quit giving you quotes because it takes them time to do.
I get it. You're right.
How
You're
long
right.
does it take Wade? I mean, do you get that immediately?
Yes, it's on the website.
Okay. So,
So let me ask you this, if you could have a price list, could we get the local Ford to bid on it and then compare
It
the two?
doesn't work like that.
It doesn't?
This bid process is done a year ago in advance, and it's competitively bid, and it goes usually to it doesn't always go to the lowest bidder. There might be state contract prices that I could beat their price, but they have to go with the state contract to be compliant. So it's more about compliancy.
or to get 3
Okay.
bids.
Because I know the federal had this same thing, and
Good question.
99.9% of the time, it was not cheaper. It's just they had a contract. In fact, it was usually more. We had to fly certain planes, like Republic was back then, and the prices were a lot higher. But once you're in that, you've got to stay in that. You can't go back and forth. Like, you can't go to Loganville Ford if their price is better and not go to the Georgia contracted people, Wade Ford. Is that illegal or something?
No, it's just the city council made it very clear that we would buy from the state contract on vehicles.
Okay, maybe we do need to discuss that, because I think they're local and they do a lot for this community. And I picked up on every point Tara made, and it made good sense to me. It seemed fair. But
You always want to buy local when you can. I mean, they're part of
Yeah.
our community.
Yeah, I think we all picked up on those points.
Yeah.
good,
Matt,
Lisa, I'm
you're
so
the-
glad.
You're the second speaker. You got 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mayor and council members, I appreciate this opportunity to speak very much. Tara's already shared most of the points that I have. However, above all else, I can confidently say that us at Loganville Ford very much see ourselves as part of the community. And honestly believe
Matt,
that if not
Matt,
us,
name and address, please.
Matt Demerly, 400 Little Carter Cove. I apologize.
Thank you.
And we believe, if not us, there are 2 other dealerships in the city, and the city should want to support local businesses. Now, I also understand that money is very important, and that government funds are a limited resource. So would it not be in the best interest, then, to get a quote? Lost my place, I apologize. To get a quote from Loganville Ford for the Ford police vehicles from a dealership that, like y'all and Tara have said, supports the city, sponsors city events, and participates in the community with things like the Christmas parade. A local dealership that's active in our community, one that already provides Walton County with their government vehicles. And I do confidently believe that we can deliver prices and vehicles in a much more timely manner than it seems has been described by the police chief and what y'all were expressing. So I would just humbly ask if we could have the opportunity to do that.
That's fair. Do you carry police vehicles in your inventory?
We do.
Okay.
There's some on our lot right now.
You can see the point that they have, though. If they're taking days, maybe a week to get 3 estimates, that's real trouble. What would it take for you to be a state?
That's utterly unacceptable in 2025. I mean,
That's experience, though.
have quotes in a much, much faster time than that.
What about the other 2?
That's a valid point. I
I
don't know
don't
how
know.
fast the other dealerships could be.
I don't know either. I know it was a problem at one time, and I think the car business was a lot better then, and everybody was busy. And they just got to where they didn't want to talk to us because they knew we wasn't going to buy a car from them. That's true.
May I ask, would their online price that they're disclosing not be considered a quote?
Dick? You got your mic.
It's not an online price. We call the rep that manages the state contract purchasing, and they email either me or Assistant Chief Warnack the build sheet. You select the options you want, and then that's the quote. There's no quote. That is the price. It's not a quote. That's the price.
So it's expedient for you guys.
It's
Is that fair?
it's immediate.
But the other side of the coin is we'd like to buy local when we can. You would too, I know.
It doesn't matter to me, if that's the direction the council wants to go, but Danny is correct. I have had bid requests returned on the same piece of paper that I sent it, rather than send me a quote, say decline. I don't know, quite honestly, looking back, we've been on this state contract pricing for some time. I personally don't think I was ever able to bring to the council 3 vehicle quotes. 2 is the best we could ever do.
Is it within state law, Danny, that the council could say conceivably, if they decide to, that we will either take the state bid or a lower bid that is provided? Would that get you by the auditors?
I would have to research that.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't have the answer either. Can we put that on next month? Is everybody okay with that?
Well, why not?
I mean, unless you want to stay here tonight. I mean, I'd like to buy local, I really would, always. Okay.
Thank you all.
Got you. Thank you, Matt. Okay, next, Lee Phillips, I know. I was gonna let him do it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lee Phillips. I live at 4421 East Pecan Street in Loganville, Georgia. And I want to talk a little bit about rainwater in downtown Loganville. So I moved here in '72 to the downtown, and I was a little young thing, and I had a bicycle, and I spent a lot of hours every day of every year riding my bicycle around on the streets of Loganville, and I got to see quite a few things, and the ditches were quite favorite because if you rode a bicycle when you were younger, you always loved a good ditch that you could ride down in and jump back up out of. Well, we had some good ditches back then. But now when you ride around on the streets, you see these nice, smooth transitions from the road to the yards. The ditches aren't there anymore because they've been filled in. Well, I'm guessing, you know, when property owners buy the properties and they pay their taxes, they expect certain services from the city that they live in. And used to, cleaning out the ditches used to be one of the services that the city kept done, so that way the storm water had a place to run to get to where it needed to go without running in the street. So in the last rain that we had, I've noticed that we had a major area that we have a water problem at, and that is at the top of Covington Street at Main Street. There is a drain that is on the Main Street side of the telephone pole at that corner that all of the water from Main Street runs down into. Well, that drain comes out at the bottom of the parking lot on the other side of the dumpster in the ditch line right there. That ditch line is completely stopped up. And so what happens to the undersurface when that happens? Well, that drain is filled up, and I'm guessing it's probably old terracotta. And you can see when it rains, the asphalt that's all busted up in pieces in that area. I thought that it was from the dumpster truck that picks up the dumpster there all the time. Well, partially it is, because the undersurface has been undermined so much by the water. When that drain fills up, the pressure coming from Main Street down Covington Street puts so much pressure that it's pushing up through the ground and pushing up through the asphalt. This is not just a recent problem. This is something that's been going on for years. Now, the city taxpayers have been paying their taxes to have these services done. I have two questions. First question, is it the property owner's responsibility or the city's responsibility to keep the ditches on the street sides cleaned out? Whose responsibility is it? Because if it's the property owners, we need to get some information out to them and let them know they need to start getting their ditches cleaned out. If it's the city's responsibility, y'all need to ask yourself this question. Why are our ditches full?
Thank you, Lee. Danny, any comment? Check it.
We can look into it. I mean, Main Street just had a brand-new stormwater put in at Covington, Maine, so we'll look at it.
Okay. Thank you.
Depends on if it's Main Street, that's the state. If it's the side road, it's the city.
Nothing simple, is it? Nothing simple. Okay. Anyone else? Come on up, Joey.
Hello. Y'all pardon me, this time of night, I don't have much voice. I'm Joyce Davis, 4421 Pecan Street. There was a question, and I didn't know how to answer it, so I said I would present it tonight, and it'll be on YouTube, so for the citizens to know, which there's several that I know that don't know. They were wondering and couldn't quite understand how does the pay system, where does the pay come from to pay the salaries, like, you know, you and you and you, the salaries that you get for being mayor, city council, whatever. They want to know where that money comes from.
Mr. Roberts, feel free.
The executive comes from the general fund.
The what?
Legislative comes from the general fund, and it depends on what other employees you're referring to. Some come from the water department, some come from general, police, fire come from general fund.
Where did they get the money from?
Where does the general fund get its money from? Through several revenues, but property tax is probably the largest. It gets through sales tax, it gets through probation fees, building permits. I mean, there's about 15 different line items it comes from.
Okay, could they come to the city and request a document or something to let them know where their money is going to, what area in the city, or is it just go in one pile and then everybody gets a cut?
I might help you with that. In the last couple of budgets in particular, you're talking about property taxes for the most part. Property
most
taxes,
citizens, yeah, they
property
just pay.
taxes is just about $150,000 shy of paying for police and fire. If that
Just
sort
the
of-
police and fire, and that's all it pays.
But
is
the amount of
our-
money in
our-
taxes
first responders.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we're proud of being able to support police and fire. Don't get me wrong. They've made us one of the safest cities in Georgia.
And we need that.
And if we
Yeah.
save lives, that's a wonderful plus.
But I didn't know what to tell them because I don't know, I never ask.
The
Where
budget is
the-
online on the city's website. The complete budget is on the city's website.
Okay, that's good. And I just, I'm just a simple person. And for years, I have had trouble in my mind and in my heart and my spirit about things that are coming into our town. They're being voted on. And even when the citizens would speak out against it, doesn't seem like the citizens' voice has anything to do. You know, you say, well, you voted for us, but some of us that voted for some had the impression from their, whatever they do, go out and talk, had the impression of one thing, and then when the council got up here to do things, it wasn't what they were telling people that they were for. So I just say honesty goes a long way, and if you can't be honest, then we don't have a town. That's the way I look at it. And I
Thank you, Ms.
love
Davis.
this town.
I'm honestly telling you, your time's up.
Well, Skip, that's really good, but I just want to say one thing.
Well, you had 5
Birds
minutes.
of a feather flock together, but my motto is, you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. Y'all, thank y'all.
No doubt. Thank you. One of the real problems that government has is communications. I got to be honest with you guys. At the last city election, less than 8% of the people came out and voted. That's a shame. 92%, over 92% of the people who are registered voters did not come out and vote. And you say, well, you ought to listen to the citizens. Well, it's not easy. And then which citizens do you listen to when we all have our own opinions? I mean, it's difficult. But anyway, I think everybody knows that. But we have tried all kinds of things to communicate better. We've got twice a year we publish the Loganville Insider. We do a newsletter every quarter. We've got a Facebook page. We do this, we do that, we do this. And one year, I thought I had come up with the greatest idea ever. Everybody who lives in the city gets a water bill, don't they? So we took the opportunity to put all the things that we thought was necessary to get the communications to the citizens, and we put it all in the water bill. And it was very economically feasible, but it didn't change anything. So then we asked the citizens, we put all that in the water bill, what's going on? And they say, oh, well, when the water bill comes, I take my water bill out and I throw the rest of it away. I don't have an answer. I really don't. I mean, it's tough. Okay, anybody else? Okay, with the hardest part of this meeting right in front of us, I got to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Usually doesn't take long. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks everybody for being here. I don't think we have to anymore.